In Key Skill 5, we're going to be looking at adding complex numbers. I'm going to show you this in two different ways, a geometric approach and an algebraic approach. So we can liken adding complex numbers to adding vectors. So if we think about adding 1 plus 2i here, if we go along by here and up to 2i here on the Argand diagram, we can think about that as a vector. From there, we would need to add on 4 and minus 3i. So I'd need to add on 4 to the real part, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would need to go down by minus 3 on the imaginary axis, 1, 2, 3. So that vector would look like this. But by the rules of vectors, I can imagine that I can go straight from the origin, like here to here. So the answer from that would be, on the real part, it would be 5, and on the imaginary part, it would be minus 1. However, you can think about this in an algebraic way also, because if we add 1, add 2i to 4 minus 3i's, and think about it like collecting like terms, we want to add the real parts to the real parts, well, we would add 1 to 4, which would give us 5. Then we would add 2i to minus 3i, which would give us minus I. So these are the two different approaches that you can take. You can imagine it like a vector on an Argand diagram, or you can imagine more of an algebraic approach where you're collecting like terms. Let's have a look at a few more examples. So here we're going to have minus 1 add I added with minus 3 minus 5i. I'm going to add the real parts together here. So minus 1 add I minus 3 minus 5i. Reals and reals together would be minus 1 minus 3 would be minus 4. And the imaginary parts together would be I take away 5i, which would be minus 4i. And we can play around with these kind of problems and turn it into a little bit of an algebraic problem. On the left-hand side, we can simplify this by adding together the real parts. So here, if I reorganize this into real parts, I would have a add 3. And I can factor out the I, and then the imaginary parts would be 4i and minus 2bi. And then you can set up an equation. It's useful to think on the right side there is no imaginary part, so you might want to think about that as 0i. And then you want to set up two equations where you have reals equal to reals and imaginary equals to imaginary. So in this case, I would have a add 3 as the real part here equal to 2a over here. And that would let me know if I solve that equation that a should equal to 3. And the imaginary part, I would have 4 minus 2b would be equal to 0 by saying this imaginary equals to this imaginary, and 4 equals 2b, and b must therefore be equal to 2. Similar example here, we're going to set it up like this. We're going to have reorganized both sides into reals and imaginaries. And then that's going to give us two equations that we can set up. So here my reals are 2x minus 10. And here my imaginary part is minus 24i. On the right hand side, my real part is minus 2y. And my imaginary part is 3y minus 3x. So let's set that up together. So the reals equation is going to be 2x minus 10 equals minus 2y. And my imaginary equation is going to be minus 24 equals to 3y minus 3x. Both these equations can be simplified down. So I'm going to say x minus 5 equals minus y by dividing both sides by 2. And then I'm going to set this up as a simultaneous equation. Here I'm going to divide everything by 3. And I'm going to set that up as x minus y equals to 8. Then I'm going to solve these simultaneous equations to find x and y. Add these two together, and then we're going to have this to be 13. So x would be 13 over 2, or 6.5. And then if x is 6.5, y must be 5, take away 6.5. Y must be minus 1.5. It's always good to check your values in your second equation. I substituted into this equation, so I'm going to check using this one. And if I've done it right, x minus y should equal to 8. So 6.5 minus 1.5, is that equal to 8? I'm going to check. Well, 6.5 add 1.5 is equal to 8. So that's all done. In Key Skill 6, we're going to be looking at how you can multiply together complex numbers. If you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel find new people.